GrimForge Gaming, we got a channel on YouTube, and then through our Discord, we train a lot of PvPers, so of all different skill sets. So from beginning PvPers all the way up to sweat lords, people that want to run in groups. We pretty much handle it all. We cover every class, every play style, both meta and off meta, and it's a lot of fun.
So, a bit of your history with ESO. How long have you been playing? And
Yeah, I've played ESO since beta, so I was beta tester for it. So I've been here. I think I took maybe a 6 month to a year break at one point, and then I came back. But other than that, I've been here the whole time.
what's your personal opinion on? I know this is kind of a loaded question on the state of PvP at the moment. As I said, I know it's a bit of a loaded question. Two
Well, I
seconds.
mean, performance aside, we've been fighting performance for quite a while, right? And they've been constantly looking at that. So, not happy with performance. But on the other side of it, I guess with the proc sets, for me, the majority of people that I work with from a PvP training standpoint are newer players. Like they're new to PvP. And so I run into a lot of people that say I've been PvPing for 3 or 4 years and I'm not getting any better. Every time I run into a 1v1, I get killed. And so, um, you know, proc sets are kind of problematic for newer players because either they throw the proc sets on and they're getting the free damage, free healing, and not having to focus on learning how to PvP, like line of sighting, maintaining their buffs. A lot of times the newer players don't even, if they come from a PvE atmosphere, they don't even have, their armor buff or major sorcery or major brutality on their bar even, because those are things that are given to them from someone else. And so if I think people understand that that's where a lot of the people that I work with are coming from in trying to understand PvP, it's rough for them. And everybody, we kind of have this one button nuclear capabilities right now with like Dark Convergence and Rothgar's Chill and stuff. It's just not a friendly atmosphere for new PvPers, and the ones that do like it are very kind of Call of Duty mindset, like let's just jump in and see how many people we can nuke before we get nuked, and like every death isn't meaningful to them. Like they're not going to, like, you're out here right now fighting multiple people and you're not just going to go in there and just blow your wad. You want to try and take them all out and be the last person standing. And to me, that's kind of meaningful PvP, not just let's just jump out there and drop the bomb and then get killed ourselves and then respawn and run and do it again. So the proc sets are problematic
And
in my. So.
and something I bring up too a fair bit, and it kind of extends into what you're saying is, like, ZeniMax has been on a kind of trend of lowering skill level in the game, and that's kind of a double-edged sword because, like, yes, in a way it makes it easier for new players, but it also makes it easier for everyone. So where a new player was getting 1v5'd by a good player, now they're getting their ass handed to them by another shit player that just gets their procs off, or, it becomes more of a, like, flip a coin kind of fight instead of, it kind of has the opposite effect of what ZeniMax is trying to achieve in making it easier for new players.
Yeah, that's the thing I think is skilled PvP. Like, I think they made an announcement. Gosh, how long ago was it? Wasn't it kind of like they declared war on skill-based PvP, right? And they wanted to lower the skill gap.
Indirectly, yeah, that's basically what they
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, so that's kind of problematic for the people that put the time in and actually learn. It would be like whatever your job is. Let's say you're a carpenter and it's taken years to hone your craft, you know, and your boss just says, "Hey, we're just gonna hire this guy that's watched a couple videos before, and it's kind of a slap in the face of the people who put the time in." So,
But this might be something interesting too. I've always meant to make a video on it. I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding between the player base and ZeniMax as well, because a lot of I made a poll on the forums about whether people thought skill gap was too high or just right or too low, and 90% people were saying it's too high. And basically I was really shocked, and I was reading through the comments, and I'm like I don't think these guys understand what skill gap is, because a lot of them were talking about sets and builds. And when I clarified the poll and I said, like, skill gap as in player input, what you put into the game, as in, like, buttons you push and rotations and stuff like that. And the poll swapped very quickly and went, the other way. And it was, a good 60 to 70% of people saying that the skill gap wasn't high enough. So I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding between ZOS and the player base. They see the player base wanting skill gap to be lowered, but they're talking about gear sets and builds, not, mechanics and that kind of stuff.
We talked actually about that on one of our Three Skeevers podcast, and I brought it up to Icy. I said, so let's talk about the PvE side of it, right? Because the PvE side, there's a skill gap on the PvE side just as well as the PvP side. So let's talk about that. And I said, what's the average DPS that you see from somebody? And, they were like, I don't know, 20k, 30k, 40k. And then I was like, and then what do you see guys like Skinny Cheeks out there doing? 100k, 120k on some builds, right? So that's the disparity between the elite level, somebody that puts the time in and has the perfect rotation, and where everyone else is at. And that's one heck of a gap. That's a huge gap. That's 100k DPS almost gap, skill gap. You see that skill gap on PvP side, like there's these elite level guys running around that people think nobody can kill, and they're just god tier, and it's like, well, they are because they've put the time in,
But unfortunately, it's getting less and less that way. And it has been for a long time now. 1vx is almost dead. I don't want to say it is dead, but it is almost dead. 1vx is super hard now. And that's just between, them nerfing mechanics and the way that they've, the way they've set the game up these days with sets and stuff like that. People can stay alive really easily and do a lot of damage with no skill.
The other thing, too, about that skill gap when you're talking about bridging over from PvE to PvP, like we said, there's 50 to 100k DPS skill gap between where the majority of the population's at and where people like Skinny Cheeks are, right? That's a huge gap just within the PvE realm.
Yeah.
Then we start talking about making the jump from PvE over to PvP. And you could be, I don't know if Skinny Cheeks PvPs, but you could be somebody that is capable of the 80 to 100k DPS in the PvE realm and be the man, and come over to PvP and just get completely handled. And the two skill gaps are very different from one another. Some of the core mechanics are just fundamentally different, and so people need to understand that too. It's just I think Is There No One Else had a perfect analogy, and he was talking about something else, but it's like we are comparing apples to apples, but it's like red apples versus green apples, so
it's a very different ball game from PvP to PvE, and the game doesn't do a very good job of teaching people, especially PvP, the side of things. They don't. And I think half the problem is majority of PvPers do come up through PvE, so they get all those habits learnt, and then when you go into PvP, it's completely different. It's I don't want to say your 3 years of PvE is basically going down the drain, but it is almost like starting again.
Yeah. I have a lot of people. So one of the things I like to do is we were previously using battlegrounds as kind of the dojo, right? The gym for training, because it's easy to get to a fight quickly, and a lot of uh, it's a low barrier of entry, right? You just queue for it and boom, you're in a fight. And that's where I would usually get the conversation with new PvPers. They're like, I've been PvPing for 3 or 4 years and I still can't win a 1v1, and I'm getting killed all the time. And so I said, what I want you to do is start solo queuing for battlegrounds. I know it takes a little bit longer, so that way you don't potentially run into the pre-mades and stuff like that. Let's give ourselves the best opportunity for success. And once you're in there, I don't want you to focus on winning the battleground. And, sometimes they laugh. They're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, look, you've spent your last 2 or 3 years focused on carrying the Chaos Ball. You're marginally going to get better at carrying the Chaos Ball, but you're not getting better at PvP. You even said it yourself. Every time you run into a 1v1, you die. So you need to avoid playing the objective and give yourself a checklist when you enter the battleground. And so your checklist might look something like this. I want to win a 1v1, and then I want to win a 1v1 that rolls right into another 1v1, or I want to win an outnumbered fight, and or I want to test out different ultimates, kind of play around with my rotation and kind of hone in on what works really well for me. I want to test the durability of the build, like both the sustain.
And like a tip I kind of like to give as far as trying to learn a build is learning your two rotations separately is really handy. So learning your offense rotation, learning your defense rotation, what's going to keep you alive, and then when you can kind of do those without thinking about it, then you can work on combining them, because that's fundamentally all PvP is. And that's the big difference from PvE, where you just have an offense rotation, you don't have a defense rotation. So I find that's a pretty easy way to get used to a build. But obviously combining it's not as simple as just going out and learning it, but if you learn them separately, it makes things a lot easier.
Yeah. Another thing too, when we're talking about proc sets and kind of muddying the water, right, making it difficult. Either it's a crutch for new PvPers, or it's completely nuking their face off, right? You can recreate all of the problematic proc sets right now through transmutes. And so I just did a low BBG yesterday or the day before, and there was a 4-man pre-made running around with Dark Convergence in there. And I'm thinking to myself, how dumb is it, if you're Zoss, or how much of an oversight is it to introduce your new PvPers to that atmosphere right out the gate? Like, that's their first experiences in PvP, is getting absolutely nuked and yanked all over the map by things.
Yep.
And I literally, in my chat, I had somebody say, I don't even know what I'm getting killed by. There's nowhere safe to stand.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, that comes back to ZeniMax wanting to make it easier for new players, but not understanding their game to be able to do that.
For me, I just wish that they would reach out to us. I'm not trying to tell them how to do their job. I just want to provide the facts and the information that's already been, that I've gathered over the last year of training PvPers in the game. I want to take that information and all the quotes and all the comments and put them in contact with them. Don't take my word for it. Talk to these people, right? They're your, what I guess you consider your customer base. So
unfortunately, they just don't care at the moment. I think the Microsoft deal's been a big issue. I think the game's been neglected a lot more than what it may have been.
We talked about that on the podcast too, allocation of funds and stuff like that. Is that what we're experiencing right now? Because we have people that can develop add-ons for the game that said, a lot of the problems that we have in the game are fairly easy fixes. They themselves could probably fix it.
Yeah.
And so are the funds being allocated to this unknown AAA title that they're hiring for across the boards, as opposed to this? is that strategically what they're doing. They're slowly letting this die. The funds are going to the new animal, and they're going to try and transition everyone to that. So
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens, because I think, like, in my opinion, it's speculation, that's all it is. There's no way I'll ever really know. I think they have somewhat been coasting. You know, they know Microsoft were taking over. And, you know, ZeniMax's board got replaced, I'd like to say 2 months ago? A month or two ago? So there's probably a lot of stuff just falling through the cracks as well at the moment. And I've seen a lot of people kind of say that, you know, Microsoft were going to save ESO and they haven't done anything. We won't see any real results from Microsoft taking over for another 3 to 6 months at least. Like,
right, because it was just second quarter that they've officially, like, if you looked at it, it was just second quarter of this year that they actually got it. So
these things take, with big businesses and companies like this, they take a long time to kind of get everything finalized and sorted out. So I don't know. I have some hopes that Microsoft will take this game a bit more seriously, because the money's there. The money's still there. Like,
yeah, I think there's a misconception too. I don't know how many PvPers you have watching, like true PvPers that are watching right now, but I myself have spent between $1,000 to $2,000 on the game, and I've got a buddy that's spent way more than that.
we've had this conversation. PvP is spend a fuck ton of money on the game. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
per head, I don't think PvP is spent less on the game.
So happens that our total population is probably only, you know, less than 10% of the game, right? Supposedly. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's lower than 10%.
Right.
And, like, I don't know, if I was ZeniMax, I'd be looking at it almost in the way that, holy shit, all these people still play our game when it's broke as fuck. Imagine if we actually fixed it. Like, and, you know, we all want new content, but at the end of the day, all they need to do is fix PvP. Like, that alone would bring back so many people.
Yeah. You'd have to think that their churn or burn in this game is horrible, from like they're losing PvP community by the droves right now, and New World's not going to help that at all. Like, I know of 3 PvP guilds that all have left, and one of them actually said, I talked to him last week or whatever, he's like, we're going to New World not because it's better PvP, but because it works.
Yeah.
You know. You know, and so we had Real Godzilla on our podcast, and one of the things that we were talking about was the average lifetime value of a PvPer. And I said, if you think about it, the PvE community, this might sound bad, but it's not. It's just,
I know what you're gonna say, and it's true. Yeah, go on, man.
yeah, the PvE community requires new content as they're eating through it, right?
Yep.
The new storyline, new whatever, but PvPers, we kind of make our own content.
Yep.
You know, just make the game work and we're good, you know? So we're here. We're here because there's no other combat like this.
Yep.
Well,
And
they just need the game to work.
and if you look at the curves of players that consistently play, the PvP one would be somewhat flat. There's obviously going to be a bit of a rise on a new chapter, but like, if you look at the PvE one, a lot of people come back for the first month, play the content, and then don't play the game for the next 2 months. Obviously, there's a lot of PvEs that play non-stop. I'm not saying there's not, but, you know, there's always that massive spike in players. They play the new content, and then they leave and wait for the new content to come out again.
Real Godzilla brought it up, you know, and he's like, it's been 2 years since PvP has actually had content added to it, you know, 2 years, but PvE community gets new content all the time. And if we can't fix the lag, if we can't actually fix the game, can we at least get new content so we're not bleeding PvP? Our community isn't leaving because we feel like second-class citizens, right?
Check chat. Damage has been down. I don't think so. Like, obviously damage has been done, but I don't think it's too late to turn things around. Obviously, there's people that won't come back to the game because of their experience, but I think most people would come back if it was fixed.
I agree with Stella. Stella said, but PvPers deserve love too. I think so. Like, you're a paying customer, right? And that's why, even if it's less than 10%, that's why they came here, was for the combat. And to be ignored, I think this game was initially sold as a PvP,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yep.
massive battles,
Yep.
and here we are, like the PvP community being shoved out.
I don't know where we got where the game got lost. Like, I really don't. Like, it's been a slow process, but you know.
Every time I start talking about it, I'll have people that say, "You're so negative. Why do you even play this game?" And it's like, well, I'm trying to. It sounds like I'm negative, but it's like constructive criticism, right? I love the game, and I like sharing the PvP experience with new players. Like when the new PvPers come, I'm like, man, you have such a fun journey ahead of you. If the game works, if your abilities work, and if you can break free, you're gonna have a great time.
But I think half the thing is, like, if you want to call it negative, half the reason we're so negative is we see the potential. Like, we know what this game can be. And, like, I think that's why most of us are still here. Because it's, like, for those times that it does work and, we have that moment where it's just fucking amazing. Because PvP in this game, there's nothing like it. And the potential is fucking unreal.
Yeah. The combat is so fluid and so nice when, it's not lag or not. I hate when you know that you're in every fight. You can hang in every fight, and the first CC you break, you can't break free, and you die, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And, like, and we've spoke about in stream about, if the argument is there's not a good way to monetize PvP, we've come up with heaps of ways, like, and we're not even getting paid, like siege skins. Like, PvPers would go nuts over siege skins.
What about if they introduced a custom battleground option, and it could be done through guilds, like you have to meet certain requirements or something to that effect. Like your guild as a whole, if it generates X amount of AP, you gain a custom battleground option. And I think custom battlegrounds would be great for training purposes. Icy and I were talking about being able to kind of simulate outnumbered situations and fights like that and really train people. Because right now it's kind of like if you wanted to do a 2v2, you would have to coordinate with someone on your faction or a friend that has that and meet somewhere out in the open world and recreate that. But you could set it up in a custom battlegrounds easily.
It could be even way more simpler than that, and we spoke about this. Why can't two group leads just initiate a duel? And it doesn't matter the numbers as long as they accept, so it could be a 2v20. Like, as long as they accept, like, why can't two group leads, initiate a duel like that? They don't need to code any new areas or make any new areas or anything. They just need to modify the dueling shit. Like, surely someone could do that in a day. Like, obviously I don't code games, but I'm sure it's not hard to do something like that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like if you're in a party with 10 people and these guys are in a group together and you challenge, the party leader's challenge to a duel accepted, there you go. That would be fun. Yeah. And sounds to me like an easy fix too.
Yeah, and like another game mode I would love would be, and all they would literally need to do is just cut 2 keeps out of Cyrodiil and throw 2 24-man teams on it and, like, play capture the keep. They wouldn't have to code any new areas, code anything. Like, they could just use assets that are already in the game.
Would that be instance-based or...
Yeah, instance-based.
Yeah, see, that's a great idea. But why are we coming up with these ideas?
Oh, yeah. That's what I mean. Like, we come up with these ideas and we're not even paid to do it. So... like, what are the possibilities for this game if they paid someone to come up with them?
But, see you tomorrow. It's that same mindset, right? Because there's nothing really out that kind of compares. I feel like from time to time that they take advantage of that.
100%. And that's why New World's such a good thing for ESO.
Yeah, until until the people like are absolutely fed up. Like they reach the point in that toxic relationship where they're like, I am finally done. I am done. I am done. You know, they pack their stuff, they walk out the door and they never look back. And
And
that's what's happening right now. And then we get kind of this cancel culture in the ESO forums where when people post about it or offer, like Real Godzilla's video gets deleted altogether, and it was a really well done video offering solutions to the PvP situation, and
yep,
they delete it.
yeah.
Like, come on.
Like the forums have got real bad lately. Like the forums used to be okay, and you could have pretty decent. Like I made a video on shit and posted it about cheating way back in the day and about cheat engine, and basically showed a website like showing how easy it was to just get cheat engine and cheat in this game, and they didn't even take. They messaged me and asked me to get rid of the link and just head people to my YouTube. And like that wouldn't happen these days. Like if I put that on the forums, it would be deleted, insta deleted. And that's kind of their attitude, is to cover shit up. Like their last ESO live, I was asking about PvP in chat and my comments were getting deleted. And after I asked 3 times, I got banned.
Oh my gosh. See,
Like, so
I don't even know what to think of that. I know what I think of it, I just can't say it. So
that's kind of the way they're treating it at the moment. It's, you know, sweep it under the rug and pretend that it's not a problem.
that's incredibly poor customer service, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, that's unacceptable. Like, people are paying for a product, you know, and
And it wasn't just me either. There was other people getting their comments deleted and stuff in chat. So
could you imagine if you worked at a store and you worked at the customer service desk and someone comes up and says, "Hey, I have a complaint," and then you just look past them and say, "Nick."
nah, just turn around. Just turn around and face the wall until they leave.
Yeah, right. Right. I mean, gosh.
Excuse me. No, there's no one there. No one there. Just. But yeah, I think, and this is something else, chat, to be kind of weary of. I wouldn't be going to New World and expecting New World to be this amazing savior. Like, New World's gonna have its own issues, and I'm calling that right now. Like,
Yeah.
it's just game development as a whole, and where game development is, it's just a shitty place to be. Games are made for money and not made for passion like they used to be.
That's another weird thing too, I guess, is where New World's at in its infancy. You should expect that, right? Where this game's at, 7 years in,
Oh,
on
and
8, you should not, right?
and that's like when I bring up issues in stream team members chats, and I get weak excuses and weak stuff, and it's just like, yeah, maybe 2 years in, maybe, but 7 years later, there's no excuse. Like there just isn't an excuse,
Right.
and that's half the problem. There's so much of the ESO community defends ZeniMax on their shitty stuff. Like, I don't know how many times I've posted about something on the forums, like a shitty thing ZeniMax has done, and I've just been nailed by so many people.
Yeah, there's a lot of I don't know what you call it, fanboys will just say, you know. Another thing too is with you have the PTS servers, and how many times have you seen this where like the content creators as a whole like to jump over there to the PTS and start testing things out and see what's going to be problematic, or jump over there and kind of feel out the build or where directions are going. How many times have things been caught on the PTS by content creators and said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Yep,
this cannot go live. Like,
yep,
there's major problem." Still goes live, right? And
and
if the PTS isn't for that, then what's it for?
and like the PTS is fucked because it has bigger issues other than that. It doesn't get a large enough player base on there to start with to be able to catch a lot of the shit. And it's basically impossible to test a lot of stuff on the PTS when you're limited to duels, and that's basically what you are limited to. Like, I'm sick of death of this attitude. They're just a small team. They try their best. It's like they're not making indie money though. Like, that's the problem. They're a small team because they don't want to pay the money. Like, it shouldn't be used as a defense. Like, it's not a good thing that they have a small team.
I did do on our last podcast with Is There No One Else, I had a couple what if scenarios.
Yep.
And one of them was what if the devs are just as frustrated as we are with PvP, and it's coming from the higher ups. They're just slave driving them and keeping them working on the next new thing, right? And not giving them the allowance of time to fix the things that need to be fixed. What if there's that?
I 100, and I've said this many times, 100% believe that's what's going on. Like, I don't think the devs personally should be held accountable. I don't think it's their fault. Like, if their job was to fix PvP, and 7 years later they'd been getting paid to fix PvP and it wasn't, do you think any of them would have a job? You know, it's not the devs, and I sometimes don't make that clear when I go on my rants, but it's not their fault.
Yeah, Carno in your chat, he had said that he reported the block bug multiple times, dozens of times, while it was in the PTS, and it still goes live. And I know there was tons of other people that did as well. And so my thing was, if the PTS isn't a long enough duration to actually implement or fix some of the problems that are found, then you need to increase the PTS time, to where...
Yeah.
Like, we don't know what the turnaround time is. You find something and you really want to fix it, but it literally takes a month or two. Who knows? I don't know. I remember a time when they would do incremental patches, every weekend or every other weekend. And, like, Take Flight would be fixed already.
Yep. Yeah. And look at Clever Alk.
Later.
Clever Alk is still busted. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
Killer, yeah. Like... And I, like, this is something else I've said for a fucking long... Oh, hello. Something else I've said for a long time, like, I think they should split PvP, like, from PvE. Keep all the sets working the same, so there's not confusion there, but be able to adjust values separately from PvP. Because half the problem we've got in PvP at the moment is crit damage is out of control. And that's primarily because of PvE. They're doing that because of PvE, and PvP is getting fucked by it.
Why wouldn't they use the Battle Spirit passive to control that better? That's what the Battle Spirit passive is.
I don't like Battle Spirit. I think blanket nerfs, like, they can work with some things, but, like, health recovery, they just fucked health recovery over. Like... Instead of... soft caps need to come back. A soft cap on health recovery would have fixed that issue. But they literally screwed it over for everyone. And that's the problem with a lot of things that are OP or super strong, or the community sees it as super strong even though it may not be. It gets nerfed into the ground where it's pointless. Like, ZeniMax never does things right when it comes to nerfs or buffs. Like, it's always one extreme to the next.
Yeah. Far left turn to far right turn and then all the way back again, right?
Yep. And what they should be doing is adjusting values slowly and smallly over time to the point where, things get right.
They shouldn't be making changes that counter, like, let's decrease the amount of player damage, but let's also decrease the amount of heals. Like, you make both those moves at the same time, and it's hard to gauge the effectiveness of one move, right?
Damage has gone up, and all they've done is fucked solo small scalers over by nerfing their healing. Yeah, 5% damage, but crit damage got buffed by 10-12%. So, overall, a lot of builds are hitting harder this patch.
See, I would have liked them to just make one of the moves and then gauge the effectiveness of that across the different platforms.
And it's like when they were doing server testing, they were changing multiple variables at once. It's
Right.
like, that's not how tests work. You shouldn't be changing more than one variable. Like,
Yeah. Like let's do the no proc testing that they did, a while back, but then let's also reintroduce cross healing.
I think they turned cross healing off, and then they did no procs afterwards, and turned cross healing back on.
Yeah.
They did
Yeah.
something along that lines, and I was just like, what the fuck, Cinemax? Like,
Yeah, and then so we're going to do this no proc testing, but we're also going to implement cross healing back into the game, and shortly after that, people are like, nobody's dying. Well, imagine that, So we got rid of nuclear capabilities through armor sets, right? And now we go to stat-based PvP or skill-based PvP, and we're going to add cross healing back into the equation so everybody can heal everybody. And I mean, that's going to happen. You should be able to look at that from the outside looking in and say that's going to happen. So
we can talk about that, and that just is a fundamental bigger issue that I hate. Like, you shouldn't be getting buffs. You shouldn't be getting things for nothing. And getting a major buff for just having a skill slotted on your bar is so fucking dumb. We're talking about major protection on Flare.
and think of all the damage mitigation that you can stack it with, because you can have major and minor protection. You can have the vampire stage 3. You can have pariah. You can have there's a lot of interesting combinations you can do now for crazy mitigations. Think about when necromancers were introduced, and they had major protection that was 30%.
Yeah.
And they could have Spirit Mender up with another 10%.
Yeah, that was definitely not a cash grab at all.
Right.
I've been really wanting to make like a documentary almost about all the broken things and fucked things throughout the years in ESO. And I started looking into it, and I realized that it was going to be one of the biggest, longest videos ever.
Yeah,
yeah,
I could see that.
I just skimming the surface, it could be a 2-3 hour video.
Yeah, that's a lot of homework.
And that's just going off the stuff I remember, let alone, all the shit that I forgot. Well, chat, you got any other questions for me or for Grim? Oh, I was saying, in order for them to separate PvP, PvE, you'd have to have double the size of their team. That's not true. I'd actually think it would make it easier for them. It would be less work because they wouldn't have to balance one to the other. You could actually balance the game a lot easier because you could independently adjust them. That's my opinion. That's what the creative director said. Oh, fuck me. Maybe
Brought up the old Black Rose prison dual wield too, having protection on it. So now we were introducing arena weapons that have, built-in mitigations on them. So
I want to say thanks for not leaving ESO PvP. Dude, I've been so close so many times to see Sawman's comment.
Oh yeah, he always comes up with unique questions. I was running a dungeon with him, and he goes it was a surprise question and answer session, and he was giving me a bunch of interesting ones. So
when I talk about separating PvE and PvP, I mean, they could keep everything functioning the same. So, proc sets still do whatever they do. They can just literally adjust values. And, even armor values could be different from PvP. Still keep all the passives the same passives, but literally just be able to adjust the value of skills and passives and all that kind of shit separately from PvE. Because
so if you're wearing that proc set in a PvP atmosphere and you read the tooltip, it's less, right?
Yeah. And, crit damage on medium armor might be half in PvP, where it's, the full value in PvE. Like, I'm not saying this is what to do. I'm just as examples. Because I've seen them be asked that question before, and their excuse at the time was they don't want to make it too confusing. And it's like I get that. Like, I wouldn't want to see sets function differently, because that would be pretty confusing for new players. But, adjusting values isn't really going to confuse anyone.
You know, it would be awesome. This would never happen, but the same way I meet with PvPers in Discord and we kind of do a question and answer session and then we start training them, it'd be amazing to go work with the devs in that fashion, because it's clear that they're not PvPers, right?
Oh yeah,
It would
100%.
be really cool to sit down with them and kind of just clarify, the difference in skill gap, like everything we've been talking about, and walk away from that knowing that we're on the same page from that moment, at least in the moment. Where it goes from there, I don't know. Like, that would be amazing.
And I see it a lot of the time, like how devs should play their own game. And devs don't necessarily need to understand their own game, but they need to have people that do understand their game. And be taking advice and, that from those people. And they don't do that.
Yeah, I think there's fear. I keep hearing that there's fear that whoever they're taking advice from would be trying to steer them towards making moves for a specific class or play style or a specific whatever. But there are content creators out there that can play every class every which way, and they don't care to make a dominant class. They actually want every class to perform.
But that's where you need to take advice from a lot of people and not just one or two or three. Because, everyone's got their own personal bias, and that will, show. But, if you're getting, game testers, 20, 30 game testers that are playing all different classes, you take all their advice on board, then you're going to be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Carno, I want all classes to be equal as long as Stam DK is the best. Exactly. Yeah.
I could stab DK. Carno just wants to hold block all day.
Is he a mag DK or?
Nah,
or
he's typically a Stam DK.
Yeah, I bet he wants his leap back or having it work most of the time.
He was getting called a cheater in DC's own chat earlier.
Oh, really?
I asked the dude why he thought he was cheating, and he had nothing for me. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This was fun.
Yeah, no worries, dude. No worries at all. Who's Grim's favourite streamer? There you go. That's a question for you.
Who's my favorite streamer? Honestly, it's got to be Saul, man. So, and I'm not saying that because he's the one that asked the question, but because of his uniqueness.
Rigged. Fucking rigged.
Yeah, rigged. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I'll click on a video and not have any clue. It's like a roller coaster you've never rode on before. Like, where's this gonna go?
Yep. So old man just needs to stop with his cringy editing, and I might be able to watch his videos.
Yeah. He does good stuff. It's so funny. He got a comment on one of his videos. So he did the video where he's walking around as the baker, and he's a low level, like a level 20, wearing Crimson and Iron Blood or something. And he takes Captain Crunch with him, who's a really good ganker.
Oh yeah, I was in stream when he was doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he was trying to make friends, and he's like using the emotes and stuff, and like if they don't dance, then kill them. And some guy shows up in his comment section and says, what kind of crap is this? This is so toxic, blah, blah, blah. I'm out of here. You just earned yourself an unsub. And Sawman's response was, oh no. Anyways.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about when I'm going to be on your podcast. We'll sort that out at some point.
Yeah, we're good this weekend or the following. I just have to move a couple things around. So we have like 4 other people, but I haven't confirmed times yet. So
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I'll get back to you on the weekend after I've recovered from this and sort something out.
yeah. How's that recovery work for you? Do you like literally crash for 10 hours or what?
I'll probably sleep for 20 plus hours.
Yeah.
I'll probably wake up, eat some food, and then go back to bed.
Yeah.
It just depends. Sometimes I sleep for 6 hours and get back up and shit. It just depends.
Yeah.
GG, my dude. Well, it's been a pleasure. I am. Oh shit, we just got past halfway. Halfway,
Oh.
boys and girls.
Well, I'll have to check back in with you. And you're on NA server?
Yeah, I'm on NA at the moment. I've been
What
playing
patch are you on right now?
DC.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I might have to run around with you. I'll keep you up maybe that last 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, no worries, man. Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, I've got Else is gonna stop by at some point, and I think Captain Crunch is too. I think.
Good. Yeah, those guys are really good people. Super knowledgeable as well.
Yeah, I've had Else has been on my podcast before.
Yeah. You could get Sawman on here, but you're not trying to lose viewers, right? I got you, Sawman. All right. Thanks for having me on. Be safe.